What would it feel like to be truly, deeply happy, regardless of your circumstances? Did you know that happiness is a choice and not a result? That you can create your life on purpose? Join us now to learn more. This is the Time to Rise and Thrive radio show. And here's your host, mindset coach, and facilitator of change, Jackie Mott.
Hello and welcome. Happy Friday. You are with me for Time to Rise and Thrive on Inspired Choices Network. I'm your host, Jackie Mott, and today's show is going to be a good one. I promise you, when I was doing my prep work this morning, I was getting so riled up. There's some really great information I'm going to share with you as we go through the show. So, on Time to Rise and Thrive, we talk about our subliminal soundtrack, how to make it work for us rather than against us, seeing our unique beauty and value, and recognizing the contribution our presence is to the world. Like, how yummy is that, right? So today's show, it's called Be Discerning. Whose voice do you give power? Ooh. And we're coming up on the holidays, right? So there's going to be some information sort of directly relating to those people. Those people, maybe you don't have them. I have them. I think most people do. But those people that, aren't so very comfortable and warm and fuzzy for us to deal with during the holidays. Yeah, we're going to talk about that a little bit later in the show. So, the topic of the show today is discerning whose voice you should listen to and how to reframe the ones that don't serve you. Isn't that interesting? Christine says, those people. Yes, those people. We all have them, right? Like, hopefully, they're family members that, we don't have to see every day, but, we all have them. We all have them in our world. So, we're going to talk about that. So, have you ever had a conversation with someone when you were really excited or proud of something and their reaction left you feeling deflated? I mean, I know I'm sure that that's never happened to anybody but me, right? If you have though, you'll know how much that can hurt your heart and cause you to doubt what may be exactly the right decision for you. We must be discerning. We must be discerning about whose voices we give power and how, when, or if we expose ourselves to the people we know will not be our cheerleaders. When you learn to be discerning, though, you quickly figure out which relationships and which people will support you and cheer you on, and which people you maybe should tell later if you tell them at all. Yeah. Yeah. So, with the subliminal soundtrack, we're really gonna dig into that today because it is so very important to this piece. So our subliminal soundtrack, if you haven't been watching this show, just very quickly, it is that soundtrack of messages that plays in the back of our mind 24/7 that tells us everything that we need to know about life. It is based on every conversation, every experience, every teacher, every parent, everything that we have learned, everything that has happened in our lives. And very often we don't even know it's there. So we can sort of really figure out where those problem areas are sometimes by looking at the decisions that we're making and whether or not those decisions, those choices are actually pushing us toward success or holding us back. So if you've got anywhere in your life that you just feel like you're kind of stuck and you can't quite figure out what you're doing wrong, it may well be your subliminal soundtrack. So here's how this relates to this whole idea of being discerning about whose voices we listen to. If you believe that other people's opinions are important, that you have to tolerate people saying unkind or unsupportive things either to you or about you, it often stems from a lack of belief in yourself or in your worthiness. Not so much fun, right? Because of that, you will actually bring into your world, you will attract the people who support that belief system. And you can probably already figure out how problematic that can be, right? But if you believe that there are a certain few people whose opinions matter because they have actually, earned their way into your inner circle of your tribe, then you will see things from a completely different way. They've proven themselves. They have already shown themselves to be people who love, trust, and respect you and want your happiness more than anything in the world for you. Okay? So when we make that shift though, we actually bring more of those people into our worlds. And I promise you, it is a game changer. Everything will change at that point. Who doesn't want more of that? Who doesn't want more of that? More cheerleaders, more respect, more love, like genuine love that comes from a place of honoring and respecting a person, as opposed to this whole idea of um coming at it. Oh, there's just such a different energy. We're going to get into that in a few minutes. But there's such a different energy when you're faced with the people who are all about the telling you what you should be doing, because those are the voices that really we need to be careful with, right? So, I have written an article, Three Easy Ways to Reset Your Subliminal Soundtrack. It is available on my website, phoenixcoach.ca. That's PhoenixCoach.ca. Go there and do your whatever, you sign up for the thing and it sends it to you. So you can get a free copy of that. And, feel free to share that. It's a free article. If you think it might be helpful to someone else, please feel free to share that with them. Yeah. So now we're gonna dig into the show. Are you ready? Because this is gonna be a good one. Like I promise you, I was getting riled right up this morning. Some of these quotes, some of these things that that I found this morning as I was getting ready and kind of thinking about, okay, what do I want to share with the world, right? So the first one is from Lao Tzu. It says, care about what other people think, and you will always be their prisoner. Hmm. That doesn't sound like a lot of fun, does it? So here's my confession to you. I am a reformed people pleaser. Reformed being the operative word. So I grew up in a home where it was really important what other people thought. It was important what other people within the household thought about things, their opinions, their decisions for you. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. It was also important to them what people outside of the family unit and outside of the household thought about things. So, have you ever heard this, like, what would the neighbors think? Who cares what the neighbors think? They got their own shit, really. They've got their own shit that they're thinking about. They probably don't even care what's going on over here, right? But when you are a child, and this is again, here's your subliminal soundtrack, you pick up on the things that other people tell you are important, and because they're important in your world, it becomes important information for you to incorporate in your own way of being. Do you see what I'm saying? That's your subliminal soundtrack. So if I was well behaved, if I was well behaved and I was polite, then people would like to have me around. If I was funny, then people might really like to have me around. But if I was sad or kind of sulky or in kind of a crappy mood or, going through something really difficult or whatever, then people would not want me to be around. So it was very, very, very important in this way of this subliminal soundtrack way of being to be, happy and polite and funny and not show the world, not ever admit to vulnerability, because vulnerability was kind of a swear word. If you were vulnerable, then that meant that you were open to attack, and it was danger, danger, danger. You understand what I'm saying? And in reality, vulnerability is something that is actually absolutely necessary in our relationships, in our way of being. If you are ever going to come to a place where you are living your purpose and your truth, the only way to accomplish that is by getting comfortable with being vulnerable. Yeah. So if you've been on the show before, you know that often I use Brene Brown's research and teachings, because she has done so much work on these things, and we are going to be using some of her stuff in today's show. The result of living this way, the way where you hide yourself, you do not show yourself, you don't make yourself vulnerable. The result of living that way was that the life that I created was actually all about everybody else. It was all about everybody else. My needs, my wants, my desires very rarely came into the equation. And if they did, it was kind of a minor side piece. Do you understand what I'm saying? So when you live like that, you are constantly giving, 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 and you are never doing the things that For example, you are never choosing the career that would make you happy, the work that would make you happy. You are never choosing the vacation that would make you happy, or, whatever it is. You aren't doing those things to fill your own bucket. You're not taking very good care of yourself. You will exhaust yourself. And you may be making other people happy, but in my case, I was absolutely miserable and didn't even know it. Isn't that crazy? Like, how do you get to a place where you can be absolutely miserable and not even understand that that's happening? How do you get there? You get there by doing this. So, the thing that was really quite interesting and almost funny in a way, and not funny, haha, but that, yeah, when I got to a breaking point, because so actually, I'm going to back that up for just a minute. I had been doing this kind of thing. I had been that like honest, straightforward, shoot from the hip person in my business life for a very long time, because when you're dealing with people's money, when you're dealing with accounting, it's important for you to be really clear and really straight with people so they understand what they're dealing with, right? In my personal life was where this was a problem. So I'd already sort of gotten a feel for how to do this in my business world. Thank God, right? Thank God that that circumstance showed up that allowed for me to at least start to practice it. But when I really got clear on this, when I really started to actually put this idea into action in my personal life, was probably about 2 or 3 months before my sister passed away. So she died April 2012. And the people that I met who really opened this up for me, I met them, I think, in February, just before that. And so I was at this workshop, this retreat that a friend of mine, Dr. Laura Gravel, she was on our show in September. She used to run this thing called Harmonics of Healing, and it was a weekend at a beautiful location here in London. And I wish she still ran them. I really do, because it was so wonderful. She had healers there. She had speakers there. She had it was good food and lots of fun people to be around. And I remember the first one she was running, she had, oh man, she had to talk me into it. I was not at all interested in doing this because this part of me had not cracked open yet. And she just kept on sort of kept on poking me and kept on, Jackie, you need to be there. Jackie, I know you need to be there. Jackie, please come, And so eventually I finally got to a place where I was like, all right, if it'll make you stop, if it will make you stop, I will be there. And I am so grateful for her pushing and poking and convincing me to show up, whatever it took for her to get me there. I'm so glad she did, because I actually met the people at that weekend. I heard speakers that spoke about something, and one woman in particular, she spoke about something that just I did not even know what to do with it, because I didn't even understand that there was another way to be until I heard her speak. And then I started to sort of, explore that and explore that. And I went to a class that she was doing, and I went to another thing, and I went to another thing, and I went to another thing. And what I found were that the people that were in this sort of community that were already following her and her partner, what I found was that when I showed up to these classes and meetings and things like that, that I actually felt completely different. I felt safe. I felt like I could just show up. Um, I could be me. I could take the mask off and just be me and be there. And every time I walked through the door, there were people there that were like, oh, yay, Jackie's here. Right. So it really shifted this thing, and it started to, I mean, it started the dominoes, right? Because it wasn't just a one-off thing and all of a sudden bing, I'm a different person. No. It took it took a few years, but it was the domino that started there that caused me to start questioning. And once you start questioning, things start to shift. So if you believe something to be 100% correct, once you start to question if maybe that correct piece maybe isn't so right, then it'll start to topple. it'll start to topple. And it took a while. And I mean, there were consequences in my life. There are always consequences in your life, good or bad, for any decisions that you make, right? For me, most of them have been quite positive, even if they didn't look like it in the beginning. They've been quite positive. So, yeah, your subliminal soundtrack and getting this clarity on, is the thing that I have believed my entire life actually true? Or is there another way of being that might be more comfortable for me? Interesting. Interesting. So we are going to head to our first break here. The next quote that I have is credited to Ricky Gale. I found a bunch of quotes today. Well, I always find a bunch of quotes that they've been repeated and repeated and repeated, and we don't know who they are from. But I did some digging this morning, and I found this one. So Ricky Gale says, "I used to walk into a room full of people and wonder if they liked me. Now I look around and wonder if I like them." Ooh, isn't that more juicy? It's a much yummier place to be, right? Much yummier place to be. So, you are with us on Time to Rise and Thrive on Inspired Choices Network. I'm your host, Jackie Mott. And when we come back from our break, we will talk a bit more about discerning whose voice you should listen to and how to reframe the ones that don't serve you. We will be right back.
What do you tell yourself when you're not listening? This question came to Jackie Mott when she was trying to find peace and purpose in the wake of tragedy. She began to understand that a lot of her pain and choices had been the result of how she perceived herself and her place in the world. And she set about creating a new subliminal soundtrack that would support her in creating a life of abundance, joy, and fulfillment. To learn more about how she did that and how you can do the same, join Jackie on her radio show, Time to Rise and Thrive, every Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 noon Central, 11 a.m. Mountain, and 10 a.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
Are you a subject matter expert? Are you here to share your expertise with an audience waiting to hear from you in only the way you can deliver? Are you ready to have your voice amplified across the airwaves? Inspired Choices Network has a global radio platform streaming to millions of people across the world. Professionally produced and supported by an accomplished team every step of the way, you can broadcast from anywhere in the world, knowing your voice matters, and we ensure it is delivered with ease and efficiency. Eager to hear your message, the world awaits. Contact us today to become an Inspired Choices Network radio host. Email become a host at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com.
This is the Time to Rise and Thrive show with mindset coach and facilitator of change, Jackie Mott. To participate in the program, join our live studio audience in our chat room at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com. For more information, visit phoenixcoach.ca, where you can follow Phoenix Coaching online. Now, back to the program.
Hello and welcome back to Time to Rise and Thrive. I'm your host, Jackie Mott. We are on Inspired Choices Network. And today we are talking about discerning whose voice to listen to and how to reframe the ones who don't serve us. So our next quote is, this is, and I'm sorry, I actually got the book wet. So the cover is somewhere, but it's a mess. So this book is called Dare to Lead. It is by Brene Brown, and right in her it says a note from Brene. You know, when people start the book, intro, whatever, I don't even know what to call it. There's a quote from Theodore Roosevelt. It says, "It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly." I absolutely love this quote. Um, there's so many really good ones when you read Brene Brown's books and pay attention to some of the stuff that she's got. I really love her way of communicating. And this is one of the things that is so very important, is to find the people whose voices we can hear, who we can understand. I've heard people say things like, I've heard this over and over and over and over again over my lifetime, but I didn't get it until just that moment when I heard this person explain it, because they could somehow absorb and digest the information differently from that person. And those are the people that you're looking for. Those are the people you're looking for. So here's the deal. It is really important for us to be able to receive feedback, because if you are on a journey where you are working toward becoming the best you that you can be, which really should be, in my humble opinion, it should be kind of the goal. We want to do better than we did before. We want to learn more. We want to grow. Maybe not everybody feels that way. That's okay. But in my world, that is one of my top goals, is to become the best version of Jackie that I can be. So in order to accomplish that, it's very important for us to be able to receive feedback from other people. And there's some stuff about that makes it either helpful or not helpful. One of them can be as simple as the voice that delivers it. So we talked a little bit about this idea of talking to your, or hearing things from your inner tribe. There are really, in my life, there's a very short list of people whose opinions really matter to me. And every single one of them is on my very inside circle. So maybe 5 people. I'm not even sure if there are that many, but maybe 5 people in my life I really, really care about what they have to say. And the reason that I care about what they have to say is because we have already established a history and a life of working together, of loving each other, of treating each other with kindness and respect and compassion, and being there for each other when needed. It's not a space of judgment. It's not a space of, um, you're doing something wrong, or you need to fix this because you're broken. Oh, that is not a fun place for me to live. So the people in my world that hold these seats are people who have proven to me over and over and over and over again that they will be there for me when I need them, that they are my biggest cheerleaders, even though they sometimes call me out on my shit, because I need to be called out on my shit sometimes, right? Everybody does. Sometimes we don't know what we're doing. We're so wrapped up in a situation, we're so involved in something that we don't see how we maybe are contributing to it, or what we are doing that is not serving us under those circumstances. So it's very, very, very important to have a group of people who will call you on your shit, and for you to be willing, able, and prepared to hear them. There may be ways, like for me, it doesn't really work so well when somebody comes at me from the "you're so bad, you're so wrong" place, and my people know that. If they come to me and say, "Well, have you thought about this, Jackie?" or "Have you considered this, maybe shifting the perspective, looking at it from a different place?" And that's the beauty of the people who are on the outside of a situation, because they can often see the things that we don't see because we are in it, right? So it is very important for us to have those people. So I made sort of a list on some of the things that I think are very, very important about how we discern who these people are. So the first thing is, you want to find mentors who either already have what you want, they're already doing what you'd like to do, or they are working toward that. Or it might even be that they have done really well at something that is completely different from what you want to do, but they've done really well at something. You need to find your mentors there, because the truth of the matter is, we've heard it in, birds of a feather flock together, right? We are the combined average of the 5 people with whom we spend the most time. So if your closest network are all people who are lazy and broke and, negative people, then it's very likely that you are also lazy, broke, and negative, right? Because we flock together. So what you need to do is you need to start to expand outside of that. So one of the things, like, even just think about like learning a new language, right? If I want to learn how to speak Italian, one of the best ways for me to do that is to go and find people who speak Italian well, and then ask them to help me learn. Jump in. Like, you learn to swim by jumping into the water, right? You can't learn to swim without getting wet. The best way to learn a new language is to find people who will challenge you, who will allow you to practice, who will push you in that goal. I went on a retreat when I was, I don't know, grade 8, I think, 13 years old, something like that. Went on a retreat, or not a retreat, an exchange program to Quebec. So if you're not in Canada, Quebec is the French speaking province. French is our national language, or our second national language, French and English. And so they sent me to live with a family in Quebec for a week or 2 weeks or something like that. And I promise you, when I came back to Ontario, I spoke French a whole lot better than I had before I left, because you're immersed in it. And that's the thing, right? So if you are looking for, if you would like to have different habits with money, then find people who have the different habits with money and spend time with them, because your mindset around the money will start to shift, right? If they're talking about investing and saving and all of that kind of stuff, and you've been a person who's just spent every penny that's ever come through the door, it will cause you to shift, or you're not going to be part of their world, right? Because it's that birds of a feather. So if you want those things, go find the people who are already doing it and absorb, be around them as much as you can, absorb as much as you can, ask them questions, try not to be too much of a pain. But if they know that your goal is to adopt some of these things and make some changes in your own life, most people are more than happy to offer you some assistance and support as you're going through those changes. If you want to be successful in a business, then it's a great idea to go and find people who have already been successful in business, who are already doing those things that you need to learn how to do in order to become what you want to become. If you want to have a successful relationship, then you find people who are already in happy and fulfilling and respectful relationships. We find people who are already doing, then we can copy and we can emulate and we can learn how to do the things that they are doing. But if we stay in our own circumstances, if we stay in that living room sitting on the couch with the bored, broke, lazy people, then that's what we can expect our life to look like. And if you're not satisfied with that, then you can change it. Change where you are, change the people that you're with, and that will help you change your mindset. I mean, there's other stuff that we can do, and in my coaching practice, we work on that subliminal soundtrack stuff, the subliminal mindset, resetting that, shifting that, reframing things, all kinds of stuff like that. And that can also be very important, because if we don't address the belief systems that are there that are holding us in that space, then we very often will find ourselves being pulled back into it. So there's a lot of stuff that goes into this. But, for time purposes, we've got some stuff to work on here. Yeah, so taking classes, going to workshops, uh, finding people who will raise you up, because if you think about this, for a second, if you are on a sport team of some description, let's say basketball, so you're on a basketball team, and you don't run very fast. That would be very bad, right? That would be bad. So you want to get on that basketball team and you want to start practicing your running. I actually, my brother was on a basketball team years and years and years ago when we were young. And he would always, in the evening, he would always go for a really long run around the neighborhood. And he did that because he knew that it was important for him to be fast on the court. If you're too slow on the court, you're not going to get anywhere. And then you hold the team back, right? And think about that. It's the team. It's the team. You don't want to let your buddies down, right? So if you join a basketball team, or you get onto a basketball team and you run slowly, you're going to want to do the sprints and the drills and the whatever, and you're going to want to be out running at night or morning or like whatever, right? You're going to want to advance your skill level so that you can actually compete. So by being with those people who are already doing that, you are actually, your bar is raised. So you now you come up from the level that you started at, so that you can actually be on the same level as the other people. you understand that? It's a very natural thing. It's actually something that we probably don't even realize or think about when we are working on creating a new skill. But if you're conscious about it, then you can make that transition quite a lot easier on yourself because you're aware of what you're doing and what you would like to do, and so you can take some steps toward achieving that thing, toward getting to that level, toward whatever it is. Like if you want to have $1 million in the bank, you might want to find some millionaires to spend some time with. I'm just saying, right? If you're starting from very little money, you need to change your mindset. You need to change how you are with money. And the best way to do that is to find the people who are already at that level and see if one of them might give you a hand on getting there yourself. So, our next quote is from Prince. Do you remember Prince? Yes. It says, I don't really care so much what people say about me because it usually is a reflection of who they are. For example, if people wish I would sound like I used to sound, then it says more about them than it does me. You see, we want the people in our tribe, in our circle, in our lives who really want us to become the best version of ourselves and achieve our goals and accomplish the things that are important to us. Those are the people that we're looking for. Those are the people that we're looking for. So you are with us on Time to Rise and Thrive on Inspired Choices Network. I'm your host, Jackie Mott. And when we come back, we're going to talk more. We're going to bring in some really good Brene Brown stuff. We're going to talk more about discerning whose voice you should listen to and how to reframe the ones that don't serve you. We will be right back in a moment.
What do you tell yourself when you're not listening? This question came to Jackie Mott when she was trying to find peace and purpose in the wake of tragedy. She began to understand that a lot of her pain and choices had been the result of how she perceived herself and her place in the world. And she set about creating a new subliminal soundtrack that would support her in creating a life of abundance, joy, and fulfillment. To learn more about how she did that and how you can do the same, join Jackie on her radio show, Time to Rise and Thrive, every Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 noon Central, 11 a.m. Mountain, and 10 a.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
What do you tell yourself when you're not listening? Our subliminal soundtrack plays in the back of our minds 24/7. It's filled with everything we've ever learned about money, relationships, body, and sexuality, about every single aspect of our lives. If you don't have what you desire, the Subliminal Soundtrack Reset program may be the very key to changing it all. In this 8-week program, designed by Jackie Mott, you'll learn to replace messages that stop your desires with new ones that not only support you in creating what you truly desire, but expand your life to higher levels of joy and pleasure. Go to phoenixcoach.ca today to sign up and begin creating your life on purpose.
This is the Time to Rise and Thrive show with mindset coach and facilitator of change, Jackie Mott. To participate in the program, join our live studio audience in our chat room at InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. For more information, visit phoenixcoach.ca, where you can follow Phoenix Coaching online. Now, back to the program.
Hello and welcome back to Time to Rise and Thrive on Inspired Choices Network. I am just enjoying so much. It's like, well, it's not very pretty out today, but it's autumn here. And there are these squirrels that are rolling around out there and playing with each other. I'm just having so much fun watching them. I better focus on what I'm doing because, they could take me right off course. So much fun. Okay, so this is the portion of the show where I get to talk about some of the things that are going on in my business and in my world. And there's a lot of really wonderful stuff happening. So I have just started working with a marketing expert who is going to help me take the business and the image and whatever in a different direction. So there will be some changes coming up. If you are somebody who enjoys the show and enjoys the videos that I put up on Facebook and so on and so forth, might not be a bad idea for you to go on Facebook and like the page, because there's going to be a lot of announcements and some changes coming to that in the very near future, probably in the next couple of weeks. So, yes, yes. So that leads me to another piece on Facebook. So I have been doing these videos called Mindful Moments for the last several months. And it's just like this moment where I'm thinking about something, and I share my thoughts or how I've turned something around or whatever. Things that make me laugh, whatever. So maybe tomorrow should be squirrels. Anyway, um there's going to be a bit of a change. There have been some challenges with actually getting those up in a timely manner the last several weeks, because things have gotten pretty busy. My days have gotten pretty full, and so trying to find that, few minutes to do that in the middle of the day, I'm often doing other things and lose track of the time. So what we have decided is that we are going to do something a little bit different. We are going to, starting December 10th and going to January 10th, pardon me, we are going to have Facebook Lives in the evenings at 7 p.m. And this is going to be a challenge. So each day we're going to talk about something about mindset or mindfulness or whatever. And I'm going to give you some concrete information, some tips, some whatever. And the beautiful thing about being on live is that we can have some interaction. So they're meant to be a few minutes, but if people are on there and they have a question or they're trying to clarify, they're trying to understand something, whatever, they can ask a question. And I would even be open to, if somebody is having a challenge and wanting to get some support through that, we can also do that on the live. So I'm excited about the change. I don't really understand it terribly well. Again, go to Phoenix Coaching London on Facebook and like the page, and then you will get whatever information as it becomes available. And there's going to be a lot coming out in the next couple of weeks. So yeah, we're going to be talking about all kinds of wonderful stuff: how to handle difficult family relationships, how to deal with the fear and doubt that a lot of people are facing right now in this pandemic, all kinds of great stuff. And if you have something in particular that you would like to address or would like some information on, I am absolutely open to, if people go on the Facebook page and post or message me with their ideas or their questions about possible topics. Absolutely open to that. So yeah, find us on Facebook, like the page, watch for announcements, blah blah. Okay? Yeah, lots of great stuff going on right now. So now getting back to our show. Today's show is called Be Discerning. Whose voice do you give power? We are talking about discerning whose voice you should listen to and how to reframe the ones that don't serve us. So our next quote is from Brene Brown. I believe that this may be a quote from her book, Daring Greatly, but I'm not entirely certain, because although it quoted Brene Brown, it did not give the source. So it says, if you are not in the arena getting your ass kicked on occasion, I'm not interested in or open to your feedback. There are a million cheap seats in the world today filled with people who will never be brave with their own lives, but will spend every ounce of energy they have hurling advice and judgment at those of us trying to dare greatly. Their only contributions are criticism, cynicism, and fear mongering. Ouch. If you're criticizing from a place where you're not also putting yourself on the line, I'm not interested in your feedback. That's what she says. That's what she says. So, last segment, we were talking about finding the right people, right? Finding those people that will help us raise ourselves up to a new level, surrounding ourselves with the people who have the mindset that we want to shift, or they have the skill that we want to learn, or they have whatever knowledge, right? Finding the people that will help us to become better, stronger, more efficient, like whatever it is, wealthier. Who doesn't want wealthier, right? Have healthier relationships, like whatever. There are so many people out there who have information about these things. For me, in all honesty, I mean, I would love to meet Brene Brown in person. Um, she has become, I don't like the word hero. She's become one of the people that I look to with respect and that I listen to, because her information, she's very thoughtful and she does a lot of research. She doesn't just sort of talk off the cuff like some people do, or make something up that sounds really good and then have nothing to back it up. No, this woman has done her research. She has done the homework, And so what she is talking about is stuff that she has actually, like clinical evidence, studies, all that kind of stuff. She has it to back these things up. So this is why I think that she is such a wonderful source for information. So it's really important for us to look at not only the people who are surrounding us, but what are we taking in? So are you looking for people, uh, you know, TV shows, podcasts, radio shows, um, books, movies, like whatever? Are you looking for things and for people that will help you to learn something new, that are knowledgeable, that can give you information that will help you to get wherever it is that you're going? Or are you looking at things that, don't do that? That's the stuff, right? So you want to find the books, you want to find the people who inspire you, the people out there who make you feel like I can do this. You want to find the people who, when you hear their voice, you actually understand them. There's a lady, her name is Debbie Allen. She's a business coach, and I've taken several of her courses. I've worked with her a little bit, and she is just able to speak in a way that I understand her. It's probably the same information that I've heard said before, but again, I've heard it again and again and again, but I did not hear it until that person said it. Because for some reason, that voice saying the same thing, but in those words, was something that I could digest. Maybe it was that I wasn't ready before that, but I really think that a lot of it has to do with the voice that's attached to where it comes from. And so, for me, she's somebody that I look to with respect, and I say, okay, this person knows what she's doing. What can I learn from her? What can I learn from, Christine is the lady who runs ICN, and she's fantastic. There's a lot of stuff that she does very, very well that I don't. And so there are times when I go to her and I'm like, I don't know what to do with this. And she's like, oh, just this. Brent, my website guy. We talked about Brent a million times. it's it's those people, right? So find the people who have the information, find the people who can help you learn what you need to learn, and become better, or who can step in and help you with the task, because sometimes we need a little bit of help. Sometimes we need somebody who knows what they're doing and has a technical or experiential expertise that they can bring to the table to help us with the task. So find those people, right? Find those people, find the books, find the podcasts, the TV shows, the things that can help you be inspired and move forward. And I'm just going to say this, if you bring somebody into your world as a coach or a professional, pay attention to what they say, because sometimes we think we know better, and then we're actually sitting in the opposite seat, right? If you're going to bring somebody in and you're going to pay them to help you, allow them to help you, and understand that they are the expert. Okay? It's just a tip and something that I've learned. Just a tip. So we're going to go to our next break in just a moment. I wanted to really, really quickly address what happens when somebody leaves your inner circle. And that can be through any number of reasons, and some of them are not going to necessarily impact this a whole lot. But like if somebody's just going in a different direction and we wish them well and we talk to them when we talk to them, or maybe it's not a thing. But if you have been in a position where somebody who was on or in your inner circle for a period of time has left because of betrayal, because of bad blood, in whatever way that looks, okay? In whatever way that looks, it can be tricky to detach, because they have held a place of importance for us for a period of time, in some cases a very long time. That voice has been important. So if they're gone, and something has gone really, really badly, and they're not really your companion, there's a word, they're not on your team anymore, they've gone flipped to the other side, and yeah. So we have to shift the importance that we give to their opinion. you also have to remember that you are changing something that's very likely deeply ingrained in your psyche, and it might take some time. It's going to take some time. You may experience anger, pain, and frustration. And the best place to go to for support is your tribe, those inner people that know you, that love you, that respect you, and will support you no matter what, come hell or high water. What do they call that? Ride or die people? Yeah, that's your inner tribe. They are your ride or die people. All right, so we're going to head to our last break. Haha, just after we do one more quote. So this one is attributed to Tobias Harris, and apparently he posted it on Twitter. I'm not sure that I trust that, but it says one of the most expensive things you'll ever do is pay attention to the wrong people. Ooh, right? In our careers? Yeah. Yeah, in our careers, if we take advice from the wrong people, that can cost us a fortune. So we are going to our last break now. You are with us on Time to Rise and Thrive on Inspired Choices Network. I am your host, Jackie Mott. When we come back, I'm going to give you some tips and we will wrap up today's conversation about discerning whose voice to give power to and reframing the ones that actually don't serve us. We will be back in just a moment.
What do you tell yourself when you're not listening? This question came to Jackie Mott when she was trying to find peace and purpose in the wake of tragedy. She began to understand that a lot of her pain and choices had been the result of how she perceived herself and her place in the world. And she set about creating a new subliminal soundtrack that would support her in creating a life of abundance, joy, and fulfillment. To learn more about how she did that and how you can do the same, join Jackie on her radio show, Time to Rise and Thrive, every Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 noon Central, 11 a.m. Mountain, and 10 a.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
What do you tell yourself when you're not listening? Our subliminal soundtrack plays in the back of our minds 24/7. It's filled with everything we've ever learned about money, relationships, body, and sexuality, about every single aspect of our lives. If you don't have what you desire, the Subliminal Soundtrack Reset program may be the very key to changing it all. In this 8-week program, designed by Jackie Mott, you'll learn to replace messages that stop your desires with new ones that not only support you in creating what you truly desire, but expand your life to higher levels of joy and pleasure. Go to phoenixcoach.ca today to sign up and begin creating your life on purpose.
This is the Time to Rise and Thrive show with mindset coach and facilitator of change, Jackie Mott. To participate in the program, join our live studio audience in our chat room at InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. For more information, visit phoenixcoach.ca, where you can follow Phoenix Coaching online. Now, back to the program.
Hello and welcome back to Time to Rise and Thrive on Inspired Choices Network. I'm your host, Jackie Mott, and we are in the last segment of our show today, discerning whose voice you listen to and reframing the ones that don't serve you. It's a thing. It's a thing. So I'm going to tell you, I saw this quote first on Facebook several years ago. I can't even tell you when it was, but I know it was a very long time ago. It says, I used to care what people thought about me until one day I tried to pay my bills with their opinions. Opinions are like armpits, right? Everybody's got one and most of them stink. Give things the importance that they deserve. So here in our last segment, we are going to talk about, I've got 7 tips for you. 7 tips. I'm sorry. Christine is just sending me these messages in the chat room. She really loved that quote. All right. So 7 tips. 7 tips to be discerning about whose voice you give power to. So the first one is one we've talked about many, 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 many times. Self-care. It is absolutely necessary for us to build a strong foundation, a very strong foundation. And that foundation needs to be one of love and appreciation for ourselves within ourselves. Very important. When you have that kind of foundation built, you will be able to withstand any storm. Any person who shows up and wants to shoot their mouth off and try to tear you down, it won't matter. It'll bounce right off you. So that's the first thing. You need to take good care of yourself, and you need to foster a relationship with yourself that is built on love and appreciation for you. Now, practice being an allowance. This one can be tricky. Practice being an allowance of their being allowed to have their own opinions, and that you do not have to buy into them. They're allowed to think whatever the hell they want. The thing is that we need to give importance to the right voices and the right feedback, right? The feedback that's actually going to help us propel ourselves forward, not the stuff that's going to keep us stuck or tear us down or pull us back to where we were 5 years ago. Who wants that? So ask yourself some questions. This is tip number 3. Who that person is in your world and if they really matter. I remember when I was thinking about this, I was like, oh my God. There was this guy named Peter, and he was the manager in this place that I worked years and years and years ago. And my son was very young. He had this opinion that I was very selfish. So I'm a single mom on welfare, and I've got this job trying to pull myself out of that world. I don't have a partner. My finances are... oof. And this man actually stood in front of me multiple times and informed me that I was very selfish by having only one child, that I needed to give my son another sibling. So no partner, no friggin' money, no stability in our world, but I'm supposed to bring another child into it. So, this manager person had some importance in my work life. He absolutely had no business trying to tell me what to do in my personal life. Got it? Yes. Is there anything that they are saying that you can take into your world and it could be helpful? Are they coming from a place of love and support, or are they simply puking their fears and judgments all over you? Very important to recognize. If possible, limit your contact with the people whose voices don't serve you. Try to deflect the conversations away from the minefield topics, and remove yourself from the situation if you can. Use humor if that'll help. Prepare yourself when you know that you're going to be in close proximity. There's a story about the scorpion and the frog. And so basically the scorpion asks the frog to carry him across the river. And the frog says, no, I'm not going to do that. You're a scorpion. You'll sting me. We'll both die. The scorpion says, no, why would I do that? I don't want to die. So the frog relents. Scorpion hops on his back. They start across the river. But halfway across the river, the frog feels a sting and starts to sink. And he looks at the scorpion and says, why did you do that? And the scorpion says, because I'm a scorpion. It's what I do. So know who people are, prepare yourself when you know that you're going to be in contact with them, and don't ask them to be someone that they're not able to be for you. Remind yourself that you are not defined by the thoughts and opinions of others. Very important, going back to that foundation, and tap into your tribe. So our last quote for today, the one I'm going to leave you with, is also from Brene Brown, and we are right down to the wire, so I better do this quick. It says, a lot of cheap seats in the arena are filled with people who never venture onto the floor. They just hurl mean-spirited criticisms and put-downs from a safe distance. The problem is, when we stop caring what people think and stop feeling hurt by cruelty, we lose our ability to connect. But when we're defined by what people think, we lose the courage to be vulnerable. Therefore, we need to be selective about the feedback we let into our lives. For me, if you're not in the arena getting your ass kicked, I am not interested in your feedback. Love that. All right. So that is your show for today, my friends. Thank you so much for being with us. We will be back on Friday again next week at 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 noon Central, 11 Mountain, and 10 Pacific. Next week's show is called Creating Your Life on Purpose, and we are going to be talking about how you can stop living your life by default and at the mercy of your circumstances, and how using choice can help you create the life you desire. So I really appreciate your time being here with me today. I hope that something I have shared with you has helped you to shift something, that change of perspective. Yeah, I so appreciate your time. I so very much appreciate your time. Have a great week. We'll see you next Friday.
Thank you for joining us for Time to Rise and Thrive radio show. Jackie Mott will return next Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 12 noon Central, 11 a.m. Mountain, and 10 a.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. We hope you'll join us. Have a fantastic week, and remember, it's your time to rise and thrive.